Hello everybody, we are back for another live stream. I've been doing streams all day and frankly I've loved it. It's so good to have the F1 back and to have F1 and F2 and F3 all in one. It's very fun. But it's very hectic, and given that the rain is forecast to be very heavy tomorrow, we could see a lot of action on Sunday, I'll say that. But we're here for the Formula 2 action. Thanks to all of you here in chat. Please in chat, let me know if you're here, who you're supporting, if you watch Formula 2, and most importantly I would say, who you want to get the Alfa Romeo seat, because really now Formula 2 has become, I would say, far more interesting and has far more depth, because it's become a question of, okay, which driver or I would say which of those available is most likely to take the Alfa Romeo seats, because realistically there's only now one seat left in F1 alongside Valtteri Bottas, and there's a few drivers in Formula 2 who have got a half chance, or at least a good chance of that seat. Now, it goes without saying that Guan Yu Zhou is the favourite. He has the money, and frankly, every rumour, every indication is that he is in pole position for that seat. But with that said, Fred Vasseur said that he's going to look at Formula 2 in general and just see generally how the Formula 2 grid does and take the results that we see this weekend and in the year as a whole into consideration. With that said, though, that could just be kind of political talk to kind of give the impression that they're looking, but in reality, they're just kind of, going to be picking Zhou regardless. With that said, though, I think it's worth kind of, watching Formula 2 because number one, it's still good to see the kind of youngsters who are trying to get into F1 regardless. It's a very fun, very competitive series. But also, as I mentioned with the kind of F1 angle now, it becomes a lot more interesting and a lot more kind of, I would say, in depth. So yep, hopefully we can enjoy it. Soulmate, great to see I'm doing okay. Yeah, I'm doing okay, mate. Hopefully you're doing well too. Emily Collins, thank you very much for the sub. Thank you so much. If you're new guys, please do subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing streams pretty much every day, but thank you very much, Emily, for the sub. Yeah, qualifying begins in 3 minutes because, as I'm sure some of you already know, some of you may not, qualifying was moved 5 minutes early because we've now got the Formula 3 race in, I think, 2 hours or in an hour, because the rain tomorrow, or the expected rain tomorrow, means that they've kind of changed a few things to try and fit everything in. The issue with that, though, is that things are so hectic and so kind of all over the place that I'd expect more changes and more uncertainty moving forward. So yeah, I'm excited and trying to stay on my toes because I'd expect more changes and more announcements over the next few 24 hours really. But yeah, I'm excited for the session. In chat, guys, let me know your predictions. Who you support in Formula 2 if you've started watching it recently, because I think one thing about Formula 2 is that a lot of fans have struggled to watch it this year because there have been such big gaps between races. Because last year it would be that Formula 2 and Formula 3, they'd be in similar weekends, kind of back to back almost, or at least within a few weeks of each other. But this year there was at one point, I think, a 2 month gap between two F2 Grand Prix, which is very hard to follow because you're going to lose interest, and especially if you're a new fan watching it for the first time, it's very difficult. But this is the good news for us Formula 2 fans. Ryan, I'll get to your question in a second. I'll get to that in a second, mate. But this is just the news for those of you who haven't seen regarding Formula 2. And that we're going to have F2 and F3 on the same weekend. And rather than 2 sprints, 1 feature, it'll just be 1 sprint race, 1 feature race, which to me is better, more organized, easier to watch, and frankly just it's better for the sport as a whole. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that develops. Byron says, who will be P19 and P20 among Max and Charles? It depends on who's got the bigger penalty. As it stands, because Max has also got the 3-place grid drop from Monza because of his Hamilton incident, it would be Verstappen last and then Leclerc P19. But say Verstappen qualifies P11 and Leclerc qualifies P19 or doesn't qualify, Max would be ahead of Leclerc. So basically, it just depends on who's got more penalties and who's got the big penalty that kind of pushes them further back down the field. So it depends. For now, it's Max, but say if Max qualifies really high and Leclerc doesn't qualify at all, qualifies 3 places lower than Max, it would be Leclerc P19. Sorry, it will be Max ahead of Leclerc. What I would say is Max is unlikely to do any running purely because it's not good for the engine. The engine is going to be, well, there's 8 rounds left in the season, so I want to kind of keep preserving that engine until the final round. And with 8 rounds to go, is it really worth, sacrificing the engine for maybe 1 place? I don't think so. So maybe Max tries to give Perez slipstream in Q1, but realistically, I don't think that we'll see Max run because Red Bull are thinking, okay, for the championship, we have to be smart here. Are you going to, put some wear on our engine unnecessarily for in qualifying, when at best we'll finish P19. I just can't see it happening. So it'll be Max last and Leclerc P19, unless of course there's some change there. But yeah, but the Formula 2 is underway in a second, so let's get ready for that. In chat, guys, leave your predictions, and if you need to subscribe. We've got the first class coming out on track now. We'll be looking at now Irms and Delhi, and of course, as it stands, Piastri leads the standings. And what I will say about Piastri is that a lot of people talk about the battle for first, and whilst it's an important battle to look at, even if Piastri, for example, qualifies, or sorry, ends the year in P5, he's still shown more pace than Guan Yu Zhou. Guan Yu Zhou is in his third year of F2. Many would argue, including me, that even if he wins this year, that's not really proving that he's F1 material on pure pace. Because to me, finishing P5 in F2 as a rookie is harder and therefore more impressive and more indicative of your skill than winning Formula 2 in your third year. So even though Piastri is going to want to win Formula 2, of course, I think that even if he finishes second or third, he's still shown, it's very obvious at this stage, that he's faster than Zhou. Zhou, in his first year of Formula 2, I think he finished P7, but last year he finished, I think, P6 or so, behind Mazepin. So, it's not been a very encouraging, I would say, year for, last year wasn't very good for Guan Yu Zhou. Mazepin beat him, Snowed outscored him by 50 points as a rookie. So, whilst I don't want to, look, I feel a bit bad for Zhou, because ultimately, if Alfa Romeo hire Zhou, it's Alfa who hire him, not Zhou himself. But still, I think that in terms of pure pace, Zhou isn't the best candidate, but we'll see what happens. Vic, great to see you, mate. And Alvaro Istueta, I don't have one, and I would never endorse a non-legal link, but maybe someone in chat knows what you're trying to allude to there. Navia, it's hard to say in Formula 2. What I would say is the favourite's always going to be Piastri, Zhou, Schwartzman, and Dan Ticktum as well. What I would say about Schwartzman is that, to be honest, I thought that he'd be a bit faster this year. Last year he finished 4th behind Tsunoda as a rookie. And even though I think he was unlucky to lose out to Mick beat him fair and square and ultimately showed more consistency than Schwartzman. But this year Schwartzman had to dominate Formula 2 to prove that he is F1 material. And now Schwartzman's teammate, Piastri, who is a rookie, is beating him. So whilst I backed Schwartzman and his F1 dream isn't over by any means, his chances of getting into F1 next year are pretty slim because a rookie in the same car as him is faster than him. So yeah, but Navi, I would say, I'm going to say Dan Ticktum. Why not? I'm going to say Dan Ticktum for pole. They're all going out for an extra warm-up lap, which also is on Formula 2, so that's nothing too new there. But yeah, we'll see the first hot laps in a few minutes. Yeah, but guys, if you're watching, thank you so much. I appreciate every single one of you who watches the streams. If you need to subscribe, hit the bell because I'm in uni now on my own, so I'll be doing qualifying and race watch-alongs for the first time. So that'll be fun as well, and you'll see my reactions live, which tend to be pretty hyperactive during a race. Varun, yes. So the idea is, Varun, at least people are hypothesizing that Alfa will sign Zhou for next year only, and then after that they'll sign Porsche. Porsche, 18 years old, and critically, unlike Schwartzman and Armstrong, for example, he's in the Sauber Academy, not the Ferrari Academy. So because of that, he's got closer links to Alfa Romeo than, say, Schwartzman would. So I think Porsche is their kind of main target for 2023, as you say. But the rumours are that Guan Yu Zhou, of course, wants a longer contract, because if he has a one-year contract, he knows they'll probably get kicked out the year after for Porsche. So it's all very interesting, and even though Zhou is most likely going to be the biggest candidate, or the most likely candidate, it's not over yet, which is why Formula 2 as ever becomes more intriguing, more interesting, and there's more at stake. Giovanni, mate, great to see you, that means so much. I mean, hopefully you guys haven't missed me too much. I've been sorting a lot of kind of personal issues, trying to get myself together, and it's been hard, sometimes I feel a bit down, but we're back. I'm really happy to be, I'm here, here with you guys, so thank you so much for watching. Even though I feel as though I say thank you a bit too much. But either way, I'll say again, thank you all. And, well, here we are. We're going to see our first flying laps now, so I can driver changes, etc. We've got now Christian Lundgaard setting his first lap. Lundgaard, of course, a youngster for the Alpine Academy. And it's funny. Last year, lots of people wanted Lundgaard and Zhou to replace Alonso, or they thought that Zhou and Lundgaard deserve the F1 seat more than Alonso at Alpine. But Lundgaard, unfortunately, hasn't quite come together. He's got a good pace, but ultimately, when you're 11th in the standings in Formula 2, you aren't F1 material. It's just really that simple. So it's a shame for Lundgaard. I mean, he's still a threat and he's got a good pace, and he has, I would say, been unlucky in places. And of course, in Monza, he went from, I think, P19 to P3, so I'm not trying to diss him. Even an average F2 driver is still a top world-class driver in most other series. But when it comes to F1, I can't see Lundgaard, Christian getting in. But he is rumoured to be in talks for an IndyCar seat next year. Similar to Calamino, actually, so that's interesting to observe. As Bashong goes fastest provisionally for Campos. Bashong, of course, self-funded. He's been struggling for sponsors for years, but he's been very quick. So credit to him for pursuing his dream and being a very decent driver on the F2 grid, despite his very limited funds. So it's a purple middle sector for Lundgaard and a purple first sector for Jake Hughes, who's replacing Jack Aitken in the HWA. As Daruvula goes P1 ahead of Dragovic. Daruvula, of course, another Red Bull Junior, but what I would say is Daruvula and Tsunoda were teammates last year, and Tsunoda beat Daruvula by 80 points or 100 points. So Daruvula, he's not a bad driver, but again, I think the F1 dream is gone for him. As Lundgaard goes P1, and Jake Hughes goes fastest for HWA, who aren't the best car. So that's a very, very good lap from Jake Hughes. Lundgaard second, Armstrong third, Viscal fourth, Sato sixth. So we are seeing more laps now, as Daruvula now is going even faster. Actually, he's setting his first lap. That's my mistake. Michel P3, Schwartzman fourth. Interesting. Fittipaldi goes ahead of Alessio De Leda. Piastri P7. But as it stands, we've got Daruvula and Dragovic both lapping quickly. Daruvula got a bit of traffic there. Hopefully they'll get out of his way. And that really the final sector is critical, especially in the low categories, because the cars are slower. There's arguably more time to be lost and gained in each lap. So let's see what Daruvula can do. As Bashang, my guy, Campos driver, the young Swiss, goes P1. Daruvula now negotiates the final few corners. Thank you very much for the subscription. Meep, thank you, mate. Thank you so much. I appreciate that a lot. Alvaro, yes, I agree, mate. I agree. Those are my thoughts. Even though Porsche, he's currently 6th, 7th, 8th in the standings, so he's not doing badly. I don't hype him up too much, but it looks like Alpha have targeted him. He's their main man, really. But yeah, I think that most likely it'll be Zhou for next year, and then after that, Porsche. But as I said, in F1, things can change. If Zhou somehow starts beating Bottas, or even being close to Valtteri, then that could change things. Aside for Formula 2, it started now, mate. But there's still 20 minutes left, so you're fine. Varun, I mean, I think Albon's okay. But I would say I was a bit underwhelmed. I was hoping that they'd be a bit more ambitious. I think that Albon and Latifi's okay. But a combination of, for example, I don't know, Kvyat or with Hulkenberg or even Magnussen, I think there are better options out there. I think that Piastri as well. I would take Piastri over Nicholas Latifi. But then again, in fairness, Latifi's improved in the last few rounds. In Italy, he was very strong. He was unlucky with the safety car. So maybe I'm being a bit too harsh there. But I still think that they've got a bit of a meh driver lineup. I won't lie to you guys. But hey ho, we'll see how that kind of goes for them over the year. Thanks to all of you who have subscribed. Thank you so much. I'll be, of course, live further on. It's currently Bashong P1 ahead of Dragovic and Zhou. But I'd expect more improvements throughout the session, as you so often see in Formula 2. Laps improved throughout. But for Bashong, a very good banker. Right, Christian Lundgaard now for ART. It looks visibly like he's going to go purple. And he's just 1/100th off Ralph Bashong. So this will be an improvement for Lundgaard if he can just keep the lap time together. Currently in P7 for ART Grand Prix. We've got Schwartzman now, purple sector 1. Schwartzman, of course, as I said, he's a Ferrari junior, but Piastri is beating him. So his kind of, I would say, value is not as high as it was, say, at the end of last year. And with Guan Yu Zhou's money, you've got Piastri who's younger and faster, and Zhou's got the finances. So Schwartzman's kind of F1 prospects are limited, but he goes purple, but not for long because Piastri's got even faster than Schwartzman has. So the Premier boys both out there pushing to the limit. Let's have a look at Lundgaard now as he negotiates the middle and final sectors. Only 3 corners left, 3 very similar 90-degree corners. And he goes across the line, second, only a tenth off Bouchon, but both Piastri and Schwartzman are going very quickly. First, it's Robert Schwartzman, of course in his home Grand Prix, the young Russian driver, as Porsche goes 5th. Bouchon improving as well. But first, it's Robert Schwartzman for Prema Racing. Let's see where he goes. P2 for Schwartzman, only 9 tenths behind Ralph Bouchon, but behind is Piastri, who's going to go fastest with a 1:48.1, just a tenth ahead of Bouchon, and 2 tenths up on Schwartzman. But Bouchon has gone purple again in the middle sector. Bouchon has had a really good year. He's improved steadily, been very consistent despite his bad luck in places, like in Monza. So let's have a look then. Ralph Bouchon, purple middle sector. Can he keep it together in the final sector? You can see he's kind of going rally style in the final corner there. Ralph Bouchon for Campos Racing. He goes second quickest, can't improve in the final sector, but still a very good lap. As Guan Yu Zhou goes fastest with a 1:47.9. Dragovic 5th as the Rivula goes 3rd, so the times are tumbling, guys, constantly. The times are tumbling constantly. So it's currently Guan Yu Zhou in P1 with a very, I would say, clean lap. He didn't go purple anywhere, but solid throughout, not really losing much time in any sector. Well, of course he didn't because he went fastest. Rivula P3, Schwartzman P6, Piastri 2nd, Porsche P11. Actually, let me check. Where's Porsche in the standings? Let me check. So currently Porsche is P5, so that's decent. That is actually quite good, to be fair. That's very good for a rookie. So I would say, other than Piastri, the most exciting driver in Formula 2 in terms of just pure speed is Porsche, as we speak. Which is why Alpha are so kind of keen on him. Tictum, who I kind of nonchalantly predicted would take pole, is struggling, so that's quite hilarious. But we're halfway through now, halfway through qualifying. And Schwartzman says very simply, the objective is to win. So there you go. And that's the thing, I love Robert Schwartzman, you know. I was rooting for him so much last season. And for lots of last year, he was leading the standings as a rookie, beating Mick. But in the final 4 rounds, he didn't get the results and ended up in 4th. So it's a shame for Robert. You know what, I must say, I'm very impressed by the maturity of these drivers in the interviews. You know, Zhou, Piastri, Schwartzman, Paul share very mature, very focused interviews and responses in their interviews. So yeah, lots of great ability there amongst those youngsters. Armstrong's out on track, the only man out on track. They aren't showing him, quite funnily. I'm not sure if he's actually doing hot laps or not. But Armstrong, of course, in the Ferrari Academy, he looked great in Formula 3 in Prema, but that's the thing. Prema are so good in Formula 3 that you can look quite good quite easily. And I'm not trying to undermine, say, what Hauger's doing or what Prema drivers do. But I don't know, it just feels as though Armstrong's really fallen short. And part of that is the Dams team. But I think that at this stage, Armstrong hasn't been able to make a case for himself, really. Schwartzman, Piastri, they're at least in the conversation for an F1 seat. But Armstrong, over the past 2 years, he's kind of lost the I would say the interest of big teams. Formula Racing Fan Edit, it's great to see you, mate. It's been a while. Nice to see you. Guys in chat, let me know your predictions as you approach the final kind of 12 minutes of qualifying. Let me know who you're vouching for, who you think can take pole. Looking at Yuri Vips, another Red Bull Junior driver. Of course, with Yuki staying at AlphaTauri, at least for this year, there aren't many options open for Vips or Lawson or even Daruvula. And I think that's fair. I think that neither of them have been as quick as Tsunoda, because Tsunoda finished P3 as a rookie in F2 last year, and critically, he beat Schwartzman and Zhou, who are now second and third in the standings. So I think it's fair that Yuki's keeping a seat. But if I were Lawson or Vips or Daruvula even, I would just hang in there in F2 one more year, because for next year, with AlphaTauri and Red Bull, you never know what will happen. You never know. Baron, mate, there you go. There you go. There you go. This is the part where we just wait for the class to actually go out on track. Quite hilariously. It's good to see that the fans back though. I think that's kind of become semi-normal. I mean, it's still great to see them, and it's quite kind of refreshing, and it's still a bit weird to see the fans, but it's becoming kind of more normal, which is a good thing. Because races without fans just weren't the same. Yeah, I agree, Racing Edits. I mean, I think where he is in the standings doesn't reflect his pace. He's been very consistent, very solid, especially in the last few rounds. He's shown good pace. Monaco is very quick, just outside the podium places. So, yeah, I respect Boschung a lot. And he also, he hasn't got the funds of most drivers, so to even be in Formula 2 is a great achievement. So I'm hoping that Boschung can get a podium this year, personally. He's kind of the person that I'm supporting in Formula 2. Baron, no, it's 30-minute session, just like in, well, not like in F1, but half an hour session. Baron, I presume, mate, that you're a Daruvula fan, perhaps? That you're watching for Daruvula, maybe? I don't know. It's because I remember a while ago, I've got quite a few Indian followers, actually, and subscribers. And I was asked often about Daruvula, at the start of the year. So I was just curious, Baron, but hey. That's fine. How you support it's okay. It's so packed. 22 cars all within like 10 seconds. Quite hilariously. You can see at the back Dragovic, and I think that's Jake Hughes creating some space for themselves. Probably the smart thing to do. Schwartzman complains about how slow people are going, which is quite funny, given that this is one of the fastest series on planet Earth. Varun, oh mate, that's fine. So, it's a bit complicated, but long story short... Oh, Varun, there you go, mate. You know what? Enjoy. We've got 2 sprint races, and then a feature race. They reversed the grid for the top 12, or sorry, top 10 or top 12 for this first sprint race. It's very complex. I can't explain it properly in words, but what you have to know is 2 sprint races, 1 feature race. So 2 races tomorrow, 1 race on Sunday, depending on the rain, basically. Formula Racing edits. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if it's just the team or the drivers. Probably a bit of both. But I think so. I think in Formula 2, it's not as hard as in F1 to kind of come back as a team and to make those adjustments. It's just normally the very fine margins that make the difference. And also in Formula 2, unlike, for example, in F3, Prema aren't that dominant team. And even in F3, Trident have really been pushing Prema. So I would suggest that even though Dams have struggled this year, they can still fight back up the grid for sure. Pratham, yes. I think for 2025, with the Volkswagen group interested, I think that we'll see at least 1 more team, but probably 2. I mean, in 2010, 11 and 12, we had 12 teams with HRT and Caterham. And of course, Manor, because Haas won there, so it was 12 teams. So we can for sure. I think next year we're not going to see any new teams. I don't think Panthera, Team Asia, or Monaco will enter, unfortunately, because I've heard nothing from them for the past 4, 5, 6 months. But I think that for 2025 Pratham, we can see 24 cars on the grid. So the cars are all still out on their second warm-up lap. So it'll be about a minute until we see them go out in anger for their final runs. What I'll say, guys, whilst we wait for the kind of final flying runs, is I'll be live tomorrow for qualifying, if there's qualifying, but I'll also be live for the race. So I'll be live all weekend. So if you're new, subscribe, and please, if you aren't new, and if you're already subscribed, hit the bell, subscribe, so that when I do go live, you're notified of my streams. But yeah, thank you so much for watching so far, and we've got a final 10 minutes of the session to go. Well, already 6 minutes. So we'll see what the likes of Zhou, Piastri can do in the fight for pole. And the fight really for their F1 careers. Here we go. Right, let's go now, guys. Let's go. We're now looking at Barth Boschung, which is great to see. Someone who maybe 2 years ago wasn't very highly spoken of. He's improved massively. He's behind his teammate, getting that slipstream. Yeah, I mean, Pratham, I think Raghunathan's chances aren't there. Derivala's chances are pretty unlikely, unfortunately, because, as I said earlier, Yuki Tsunoda outscored him by 80 points in the same car, and Vips and Lawson are arguably faster, so unfortunately not very high, but you never know. You never know. As Boschung is 2/10 up in Sector 1, Boschung is 2/10 up in Sector 1 alone. So let's see what Boschung can do here. Middle sector, keeping it all on track, nice and tidy. Tried to avoid in the AstroTurf here, which has caught out the likes of Leclerc and Giovinazzi. He's kept it very clean so far and he'll get more slipstream from his teammate. But it's not about the slipstream, it's about the lap time, because they're all in really a long train. Middle sector then for Ralph Boschung. Let's see. Is he still up? And he's lost about 1/10, so it's going to be very close. He doesn't lock up, he pretty much nails the apex there. But this is going to be crucial now. It's only 300s that are in it. Druvela's flying actually. He's also up. So we're going to see the times improving throughout the order. Boschung now in the final sector. He'll be giving it everything to try and take pole. But he's got Druvela and many others improving behind. It's Boschung now for Campos. Can he put it on pole? Not quite. He doesn't improve. But behind comes Druvela though. Can he go fastest? Not quite. Schwartzman goes P2. Druvilla stays P4 with this one improvement. Lawson goes into P3. Tixum goes P10, who's really struggling in this session. But we've still got more time. We'll see more improvements. Armstrong goes into P13. Piastri goes fastest. 200ths ahead of Guan Yu Zhou. So it's Piastri, Zhou, Schwartzman. Who would have thought the three kind of F1 protagonists? Piastri P1, 200ths ahead of Zhou, and Schwartzman P3. Incredible. You would have thought. But yeah, F1 racing, and it's Piastri again, but there's still 4 minutes left, or 3.5. So we'll see them probably have one cooldown lap and go again for that final lap. So you could still see improvements. Yeah, Vic, I mean, Piastri is in a very good place. Even if he qualifies P2, P3, he's in the mix. He's in the mix, which is the main thing. And of course, guys, in Formula 2, for those of you who are new, you get 4 points for pole. And in the very close fight between, you know, Piastri, Zhou, Schwartzman, those 4 points could be pivotal. So again, even just in terms of points, this will matter as well. So let's see now. They're away for their final hot laps. It's Bobby Schwartzman. Let's have a look at these first sector times then for Robert Schwartzman. First sector for Robert, and he's up by a 100th. He's not purple, but he's still up. He's still up. Daruvilla, he's purple. So guys, we're seeing progress already. Lawson is green. Guys, it's so close. The top 6 are separated by 2.5 tenths. We're going to be seeing the timings tumble. For now, it's Robert Schwartzman who you look at. Just as Daruvilla's getting slipstream from Schwartzman, that could be pivotal. Lawson not too far behind. Schwartzman about 900ths off. Daruvilla 5 tenths up in the middle sector. Lawson 9 tenths up. Daruvilla could be on course for pole here, guys. Let's see then. Daruvilla all over the back of Schwartzman, just pushing to the limit here. But the final sector here is critical. On board now with Daruvilla. Daruvilla's had a slow start to the season, but he won a race in Monza. He took a dominant win in Monza, and he's all over the back of Schwartzman. Jan Daruvilla now goes across the line, and it's pole by 3 tenths for Daruvilla. Lawson doesn't improve. Tictum goes up into 8th, but Piastri's purple, and Zhou's also improving. Let's look at Oscar Piastri across the line, and Piastri goes fastest by 2 tenths of a second. Now it's Guan Yu Zhou's turn. He's green and he's not made an improvement, so it'll have to be a mighty final sector for Guan Yu Zhou. Porsche goes up into 3rd. Can Zhou improve? He can't. So it's Piastri pole again. Piastri pole again. This man is possessed. This man is possessed. Driving to survive. That is Oscar Piastri. Well, it's another pole, 4 points for him because of course if you take pole you get for those 4 points. Porn Racing edits. Where did Jake Hughes finish? Let me just double check whilst I do my edits. Jake Hughes in P6 for HWA. Fair play to Jake, man. That's not a very good team, at least from what we've seen this season. So an outstanding lap from Jake Hughes as well. Boschan with a good quality as well. But the headlines are again on that man, Oscar Piastri, who again takes pole position. Porsche P3, very good lap from the young Frenchman. Deruvela, very good lap as well, of course, second place. Good sugar honey iced tea, says Piastri. And well, guys, that's quality in the books. What were your thoughts? Yeah, Vic, it was crazy. And Varun, I mean, Deruvela was very quick. A very good job. Varun, yes, Piastri is an Alpine junior, but of course with Alonso and Ocon contracted, he'll have to try and find another seat. I have to stop tweeting whilst watching session. I have to stop tweeting whilst I'm streaming. It's honestly a curse. Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's hard to tell, again, how much it's to do with driver or team. But without doubt, Jake Hughes has done an amazing lap. Without doubt. And also for Jake Hughes, that's only his second qualifying all year because, of course, he's a replacement for Aiken. So an amazing lap for Jake Hughes, whose teammate is like, well, just at the back, Alessio De Leda. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll be live for one more live stream today for the F3